But when we had the opportunity to do it, it reminds me of a sermon that my dear brother Reverend George Mays preached so many years ago. I may take that sermon, flip it, run it around, but it seems fitting today. He preached a sermon many years ago entitled "When You Could, You Wouldn't. Now you want to and you can't." Wow, and isn't that like fitting for today? When you could, you wouldn't. Now that you want to, you can't. And I began to think about that even in this season. So there is this emotional, there is this mourning that takes place in the text. These folk are weeping, they're mourning, so much so that God has to come to them and shake them and say, Moses is dead. Your season of mourning has to be up, because even though Moses is dead, the mission must go on. Yeah, the mission must go on. And so he comes literally and he shakes them. He says, you got to get up from here. And that's how life is. This is why, man, I've been through a lot of things in life, and I know that you have too, but there have been these moments when things come, man, and you just feel like you don't want to move. You don't want to get up. But God has a way of coming to us and shaking us and saying, listen, if you don't get up from here, you're going to die. You've got to keep on keeping on. And that's what happens in the text. He comes to Moses in this emotional state that Moses is in. He has to be willing to let go of what was behind him in order to move forward into the promise, into the blessed place. And God has to shake him and say, you have to get up from here. It's time now for you to rise up. And that's what I believe that God is doing even in this season, around ministry, around our connections, around how we do business. He's saying, listen, you got to let go of that which was behind you. I'm pushing you into this new norm. You got to get up from here. Because even though Rona came, the mission still must go forward. It may not go forward the way that you're accustomed to, that you're used to, but the mission must go forward. Can I get somebody to take their finger tonight and say, I know that's right. Yeah, it has to go forward. Anybody hear God saying to Joshua, let's do this. It's time to do this. And this is what he says to him. And he says, listen, you have to be willing to get up from here, and you have to be willing to move by faith. That's what the Hebrew writer says. He says, without faith, it is in fact impossible to please God. Yeah, so if you're going to do anything for the Lord, you got to understand, man, it requires a faith journey. He always gives a faith challenge. Yeah. Why are you looking all crazy? Because you're going through something right now. Maybe if you looked at it a different way, maybe if you would begin to understand that that's a part of the process. Yeah, because whatever the Lord calls you into, it requires a faith journey, a faith challenge. Because what he does, he says, this is where you are. This is where I'm taking you. And he says, get started. This is where you are. This is where I'm taking you. Get started. He doesn't stop and give you the A, B, C, and D of the journey. He just says, this is where you are. This is where I promise to take you. Move, get started. So he comes to Joshua and he in essence says, come on now. Get up from here. Now it's your time. You're going to lead these people to their blessed place. Yeah, the Old Testament called it the promised land. You're going to lead these people to their blessed place. This is what I believe our ancestors did. Through all that they went through, they kept getting up. They kept believing that they would not only see God in the by and by, but that one day their future generations, those who would come up out of them, would see the promised land on this side. And some of you are sitting here today because they refused to sit down. They were willing to get up. Some of you are operating in some spaces and navigating in some spaces today because they refused to sit down. They were willing to get up through the hardship, through the pain, through the agony. Some of y'all and you can do it tonight if you understand that God has given you an assignment. He has given